Coming up, a new organization will support agriculture development for tribes and tribal colleges. We talk with actor and singer Booboo Stewart about his work and mental health. And an Alaska Native anthropologist connects cultural items of the past with the present. Join us for those interviews, plus headlines on the ICT Newscast.
This program is made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, a private corporation funded by the American people.
Support for the ICT Newscast with Aaliyah Chavez comes from the Arizona PBS studios in Phoenix at the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communications at Arizona State University.
Amidawa Hopa. Thank you for joining us. I am Aaliyah Chavez. We start today in New Mexico, where last week the Department of the Interior and the Bureau of Land Management made a historic announcement for local tribes and community members. ICT's Paris Wise was there and starts our reporting.
In Bernalillo, New Mexico, Secretary of the Interior Deb Haaland signed a public land order protecting more than 4,200 acres of public lands in the Placitas area.
Today, I am signing a public land order that will prevent new gravel operations, mining claims, and oil and gas development in the area for the next 50 years.
Tribal leaders, state officials, and community members gathered to witness and speak on this significant moment.
So grateful for everyone here. Thank you all so much for all the work that you put in. I'm grateful for you. It's done.
This order withdraws 4 parcels of Bureau of Land Management lands for which the pueblos of San Felipe and Santa Ana have long sought protection of. This order was first proposed by the Interior Department in September of 2023, but this fight has been ongoing for the local communities.
Oh gosh, the Tribal Council has been working on this for, at least a decade, maybe more. A lot of discussions in Tribal Council. And so the society people are truly wanting this in some sort of stewardship issue for the Pueblo. We're preserving the lands, first of all. We hope to get the Buffalo Tract in stewardship possibly, or in Santa Ana's land base at some point in time. But it's a game changer right now with Secretary signing of her document. So we're pleased to have her have done that today.
Paris Wise, ICT News.
The U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development is increasing funding opportunities for Native Americans looking to become homeowners. Lender participation in the Section 184 Indian Housing Loan Guarantee Program is expected to rise with new regulations that provide enhanced resources for Native families. Section 184 loans can be used for new construction homes, rehabilitation, the purchase of an existing home, or to refinance. The development team worked closely with tribal leaders and other stakeholders to reinforce the program, aiming to bolster home ownership and wealth building opportunities across Indian country. In Minnesota, one Ojibwe artist is taking a stand against art theft. Sarah Howes found her original Ojibwe floral designs ripped off by a Dutch artist selling prints online. She fired back using the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, sending a takedown notice with backup from friends and legal help. The Dutch artist refused to comment to ICT, but sent a complaint email claiming Howes was defaming him and faking her identity. For more on this story, go to ictnews.org and look up stolen art. In Hawaii, snails are now recognized by the state in each of the main islands. Governor Josh Green signed into law a bill recognizing 9 native snail species as state snails. Last year, Green proclaimed the year of the kahuli in the state to bring attention to the extinction rates of Hawaii's native snails. Snails are significant to Hawaiian lifestyle and play cultural roles in songs, hula, and oli. Well, a rare cicada phenomenon is set to happen this spring. In parts of the Midwest and Southeast, a double dose of these singing insects, one brood on a 13-year cycle and the other on a 17-year cycle, will emerge from the ground. There will be an estimated 1 million insects per acre across 16 states. That's according to a cicada expert at the University of Connecticut. Often mistaken for locusts, cicadas are mostly noisy than they do harm. They are good for the soil, non-toxic, and don't bite. The occurrence will last about a month before their young will crawl back into the ground until the next cycle. The Native American Agriculture Fund was created after the lawsuit Keeps Eagle versus Vilsack uncovered discrimination against Native American farmers and ranchers and the U.S. Agriculture Department. The suit resulted in the creation of a $680 million compensation fund with an additional $80 million in debt relief. And now the Ag Fund is evolving with the creation of its Sovereign Equity Fund. Shirley Snavy has this interview with its new executive director, Courtney Chavis.
The Sovereign Equity Fund, we are a 501c3 within Indian Country. We are the sister org for Native Agriculture Fund. So as you know how Native Agriculture Fund is set up, it is set up by a trust agreement, meaning the Native Ag Fund, they cannot accept funding. They can only push out the funding that's set aside in their trust to Indian Country. So they established a Sovereign Equity Fund to do just that. We're able to take in public and private partnership funding dollars and then get those back out to farmers, ranchers, and producers within Indian Country to overcome the barriers that they often face. A lot of them are in credit deserts. Many farmers and ranchers over time have had trouble gaining access to capital from rural areas. There's also a lack of ag lenders that we've noticed that who may not fully understand this unique political statuses of tribes in agriculture. We can also look at things such as land tenure issues, but from the lens of SEF, it's important that we think about the capital that is invested in agriculture. So our role is we aim to improve ag infrastructure from a whole lens. So we look at it from transportation, water access, irrigation systems, which we all know are crucial to ag services. So SEF, in collaboration with its partners, will continue to work to address and overcome these barriers by leveraging investments, and so we can increase access to capital through both public and private funding. So our intention here is to create a positive change in Indian Country beyond the confines of just government funding. One of our private funders is the Mellon Foundation. So SEF, along with NAF, as well as the Mellon Foundation, we have a program currently called the Cultural Food Waste Fund. This collaborative effort is a funding opportunity for tribal colleges and universities to provide capital and capacity building so we can expand the knowledge of arts and humanities of Native food systems. So last year was the first year of our cohort. So we awarded about 6 different TCUs around Indian Country. One example of a TCU that we funded was Red Lake Nation College in Red Lake, Minnesota. So some of their main activities are been invested towards increasing the knowledge about local traditional food practices, incorporating cultural food crafts such as moccasins, drum making for ceremonial harvesting. So all of these initiatives through these TCUs promote food sovereignty and cultural knowledges within these specific communities. Look at our initiatives as being very interconnected. It's not necessarily just about investing into that one piece. It's an investment through all facets of Native Ag. So we want to view these as a ripple effect in Indian Country, meaning if you invest in an ag infrastructure in a rural area, That ties together storage, transportation, and distribution of food, which also impacts a tribe's and the community's connection to the food access, to economic development, and so much more. Currently, right now in the philanthropic space, less than 2% of money is going to Indian country, which is wild to think about when we are the original stewards of the land. I found in my role, we rarely get to tell our story. We know the barriers within native agriculture and the harms that we saw go overlooked generation after generation. So, from my aspect, I look at it as no longer are we asking for that seat at the table. We want to be the voice at the table to bring that change. I think a personal goal that I've set for myself is to seek out partnerships that will do exactly that. Let us tell the story. As we continue to build upon partnerships with funders like the Mellon Foundation, we're able to tell the story and get it out there for the work we're doing through this specific funding lens.
With support from the Mellon Foundation, tribal colleges and universities can apply for the Cultural Foodways Fund. The deadline is July 1st. Shirley Snavy, ICT News.
Actor and singer Booboo Stewart has teamed up with Movember to raise awareness for Native men's mental health and suicide prevention. ICT's Daniel Herrera Carvajal talked with him about his work and this collaboration.
Booboo, welcome to the ICT Newscast. You've been on shows like Descendants and Good Trouble and on movies like X-Men. What has your journey been like as an actor?
Ooh, the journey. It's been so interesting. As I feel like all like artist journeys are. It's I grew up in the business. My dad is an actor and a stunt coordinator. So I would grow up. When I was a baby, I'd be on sets all the time. I would even ask to like miss school to like go hang out on set because I just really liked being on set. I wasn't doing anything. I just liked being there. That grew into me becoming a self-proclaimed like cinephile. I love watching movies. I used to watch 2 movies a day at least. Once I saw Heath Ledger play the Joker in The Dark Knight, that kind of like it just blew my mind. It reminded me of when I was even younger. I used to want to be a pro BMXer because I used to see the Thrasher magazines and they said, "Oh, this is what I want to do," but when I saw that performance, I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's what I want to do," and I just loved movies so much. And yeah, I was doing music first, and then that turned into film. Um, and it's interesting, like even booking X-Men came from a small movie I had done when I was 16, the director saw. So it's been like some parts you audition for, sometimes you're just surprised, like, what the, how did you even know about that movie? And like, why would you want me to play this other role? And it's been a roller coaster of just adventure, I guess.
Your music project, That Band Honey, just released a new song, Thinking About You. Can you talk me through the music making process and what the song's about?
Yeah, the inspiration behind it, it's definitely a reflection piece after a breakup of a relationship, We always, after you break up, it's just the worst time of anyone's life. And yeah, just looking back on that relationship, all the things you didn't say, all the things you said, um, all the things you shouldn't have said. And then writing the song was, yeah, it's really fun. The band consists of myself and my 3 best friends. So it's just really fun being able to like go to work and to the studio with your friends. It's always a a mini party and we're just having a good time and just having a blast with each other. And but then you get deep. You have to explore the vulnerable sides to make good music and to make music that connects with people. I hear a lot of music that sounds fun and good, but it doesn't make me feel anything. I think music can do both. It can be fun, but the lyrics should also hit a little deep and make you feel something more than just like a groovy beat.
You've teamed up with Movember in support of men's mental health awareness and suicide prevention, specifically for Native American men. What called you to do this?
It's something that I've actually thought about for a long time, this issue. because of my background and with the roles I've played and having an influence. I have had the opportunity to visit several reservations across the country, to do speeches at the reservations. And, even on a surface level, I could see that there were issues that I could see at each reservation that were very similar. This isn't really being talked about as much as it should be, you know. So when I got the email, when I heard about what Movember was doing, I instantly was like, yes. Like I've always done charitable work, but I haven't done it in a while, sadly. But when I saw this, I was instantly, it really felt like something that I resonated with, as I want to do things that I really, really agree with, really support, really resonate with. I can understand the whole picture of, not just like throwing my name out there and being like, yeah, I support this, And this is something that I really was like, yes, I've thought about this for a while, and it just so happens that they're doing this right now, and I want to be a part of spreading the word.
We know Indigenous men commit suicide at almost twice the rate of non-Indigenous men. Why do you think it's so important that we talk about these disparities?
I think it's important because it's something that we as Americans, in our past, the history of us, have done to a certain people, and this is the repercussions. You know what I mean? This is generational trauma. This is our history, and it's so easily, for some reason, swept under the rug, and that's not okay. So we have to deal with the repercussions of what we've done to a certain set of people, and it's just not okay. And we can now make a difference. We can make a change with the young people. The way our mindsets are, it's different.
And what do you hope is achieved with this awareness?
Man, I hope that we can really fix the root of the issue. Something that I'm proud of to say is that Movember is, this is a 7-year investment. It's an investment of $1.56 million over the course of 7 years. So something like this issue, it's not going to be fixed overnight. Right? That's not how the people's minds work. This is going to take time. It's going to take the community coming together, and that's what Movember's doing. They're going to be listening to the communities and seeing what solutions will best fit each community. That's something I think is really important here. If you or anybody watching this knows, if you're a part of a community and you want to register your community, go to movember.com/about/funding, because you can literally register your community. And the way they're going about is trying to get the young men, the boys, the older guys, everybody back into the culture, the spirituality, the community of it all. And that's the root of the issue. So that takes time, but I'm glad that they're attacking it now.
Booboo Stewart, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Languages are among our most valued resources. Ensuring that they are preserved and taught is important in Indigenous communities and here at ICT. We're continuing our segment called Language Breaks, where we feature speakers from across Turtle Island sharing their beautiful and bold words and phrases. We bring you a taste of Quinault from the Quinault Indian Nation in Washington.
Chi escalingwat. Chi escalingwat. I'm happy-minded. I'm happy-minded. Chi escalingwat. Chi escalingwat. I'm happy-minded. I'm happy-minded.
At FEMA, a huge part of our mission is to make sure we are preparing the nation for catastrophic events. As extreme weather continues to become more intense and frequent, disaster preparedness has never been more important. Older adults face even greater risks and challenges when it comes to preparing, especially those who live independently, have low income, have disabilities, or live in rural areas. This May, President Biden announced Older Americans Month, reminding us that older Americans are the pillars of our community and we owe it to them to value their wisdom, celebrate their contributions, and champion their well-being. This September, I'm excited to announce that National Preparedness Month will have a special focus on the older adult population. Through our Ready campaign, FEMA is evolving the way we engage with communities to be more inclusive and impactful than ever before. Today, I ask you to join us in our efforts by finding ways to help prepare the older adults in your network or community. Stay tuned for new tools and resources, but don't wait. Visit ready.gov to get started. Thank you.
As an anthropologist, Sven Hawkinson says he is concerned with connecting the past to the present for Indigenous people. He is a professor of anthropology at the University of Washington and the curator of North American anthropology at the Burke Museum. Here's ICT's Shirley Snavy with this conversation.
There is a continuum of care for many Indigenous families who pass down heirlooms and cultural objects from generation to generation. Many of these objects are made of organic materials and deteriorate over time. Conservation is a topic discussed at the Association of Tribal Archives, Libraries, and Museums. I asked Sven Hawkinson where to seek help.
Online, there are a lot of different things online. Like, for example, if you run into a bug infestation, type in bug infestation, what to do. There's a lot of really amazing websites out there that actually talk about this and preservations. There's a lot of wonderful conservators who've written blogs. Ellen Carley is the one that I go to for different things. She's wonderful. She's out of Juneau, the State Museum. I mean, she's just the one that right off the top of my head because I've worked so closely with her and the work that she does. But there are many, many other websites out there, but it just depends on the situation of what you have. And then also finding local professionals wherever you are. They're there, and it's just finding a way to connect with them to help you care for and also celebrate what you have. What prompted me to get involved with not just preservation of cultural pieces is I wanted to learn from what was in museum collections in order to bring that knowledge back home. So I taught myself how to, working with the community members, I learned how to weave when I was 16, 17. Learned how to gather the materials, but then sort of just went off. And then while I was in before I went into graduate school, I was exposed to archaeological sites, doing archaeology, and looking at this amazing collection from Carlick or K1 of preserved organics and preserved masks and mats and all this other stuff, and it's like, how do you make it? And from there, it was just like, okay, in museums we have these amazing collections. How can we bring that knowledge back home? Well, we couldn't bring the original pieces home, but we could bring the knowledge we learned from it back home and then teach that to the community and share it with the community and then let them take it from there. And so when I came home in 2000, I was hired as the Alutiiq Museum director. But for me, what was more important about working at the museum is how do we take the museum and what we have in there and bring it out to the communities? And the one way we can do that was through working with the collections, working with artisans, working with community members to create projects that we would take out to each of the villages. And I did that for 13 years, working through the Alutiiq Museum, where we did mask carving, skin sewing, kayak making, hunting tools, ivory carving, all these different things, the skills. And so in this process, I just learned about this, learned about how to make and collect and care for these cultural pieces. But for me, what's more important is having us get access to the cultural pieces so that we can then put that lived knowledge back into a living context. That's where it really started. Is like, how do we make this, how do we get this information back into the hearts and minds of our community? If we know how to not just make them, then we're starting to learn about the stories that went into the making, the creation, the use, and the story of where that piece is, but then taking those stories further within the community so that we're now using them to celebrate and thrive with. For the care of cultural pieces, for me the biggest thing is, yes, caring for them, preserving them, but making sure that the stories and the purpose of why we have them continues to be carried forward. Celebrating so that as Indigenous peoples we're thriving, not just surviving anymore. We're celebrating who we are as cultures, as tribes, as individuals. Don't just store the piece and hide it away. Celebrate it. And if that is putting it back into a living context and then making new ones. Because the cultural pieces were meant to have a life, and like our lives, we go through all these different stages. Same thing with those cultural pieces. They create stories so that new stories can be created to be told, so that those stories can be told again and again, but they grow as we grow. So don't just preserve them, celebrate, use them, thrive with them.
In St. Paul, Minnesota, Shirley Snavy, ICT News.
That is a slice of our Indigenous world. For all the latest, visit us at ictnews.org. From all of us in the newsroom, stay safe, my relatives.
This program is made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, a private corporation funded by the American people.